Hello and welcome to Mountain View Daycare Nutrition Program 2017 Annual Training Webinar. We're doing this webinar because we had a conference in March and some of you weren't able to make it. So you have to have your annual training completed for continued participation with the USDA Child and Adult Care Food Program. And so we are I'm doing this webinar for that training. So again, I say welcome. And before we kind of get into the meat of everything, I am going to the next page here, show you a new website. We have a brand new website. We've had it for a few months, and I hope that you've been there, but if not, this is a picture of our website, and it's turned out very, very nice. And so you'll be able to get all of your resources and forms and things like that, and newsletters, and there's a lot of things up and coming on here. So make sure to go to the website and visit us, and the website address is mdnp.org, and I would save it on your toolbar and your favorites so you can access it easily. Okay, the beginning of our training, we're going to be talking about the new meal pattern requirements that USDA has put out. And the before I do that, I'm sorry, this is your annual training, and to get credit for this webinar, this is how you're going to get the credit. You're going to participate in the webinar right now, and you'll send us a return email at the end of the webinar to inbox@mdnp.org. And so while you're doing the webinar, you'll want to have a piece of paper and a pencil or pen, and there will be questions in the webinar, 6 different questions, and you'll need to know the answers to them. So number your paper 1 through 6, and just put the answer next to each number, like the example below. And we don't need a big long answer, we just need the numbers, and it's going to be really easy because I'm going to read the question, and then after you have a chance to answer it, I'll let you know the correct answer. So, but the hint is not the right answer, so don't just copy these. This is just an example. Okay, let's start talking about the new meal pattern, and this is the first major revision to the USDA Child and Adult Care Food Program meal pattern since 1968, the first major revision. So this is a big deal. It's been a lot of years in the making, and the purpose of the new meal pattern is to increase the nutritional quality of the program. And USDA has worked hard to reduce the sugar content and also reduce increase some grains and whole grains and stuff in there. So anyway, the whole idea is just to make it a lot healthier and a better nutritional start for the children. Okay, a little history behind it. A federal law was passed, the Healthy Hungry Free Kid Act, and this act was put in place to, for our children in this country, to keep them healthy and hunger-free. And so the law was passed down to USDA, and they have been mandated to change the meal patterns. So in order to change the meal patterns, they used the Dietary Guidelines for Americans and had the American Academy of Pediatrics, and also the National Academy of Medicine all participate in evaluating and creating the new guidelines. So it's been, like I said, it's been a long time coming and a lot of input, and it also had a lot of input from you, the providers, also, so that was good. Getting right into the new guidelines, we're going to start talking about a greater variety of vegetables. And the combined fruit and vegetable component is now a separate vegetable component and a separate fruit component. So where we've always had the fruit and vegetable as one component, it is now will be 2. And these guidelines actually take effect as October 1st of this year, 2017. There are some things that you can implement now, but some things will have to wait until October 1st. And also our software has to be updated, and that's one of the reasons that we've upgraded to KidCare, because it can handle the new guidelines. Another change is juice is limited to once per day, to where now you can serve it whenever you want, but now it will have a limit of once per day, which is wonderful because juice is very high in sugar, very high in calories, and it teaches the children to have get a taste bud for those sugary drinks young, and we want to try to prevent that. With the new meal pattern guidelines, there's also some best practices. These things are here. They're not an absolute, but we like to encourage you to use best practices when you're creating your menus and serving your children. So the best practice is make at least one of the 2 required components of a snack or vegetable, a vegetable or a fruit. So instead of serving cheese and crackers, you might want to serve cheese and apple slices, or you might want to serve a cracker and carrots, but just make one of the components a fruit or a vegetable, and that would be a best practice. Serve a variety of fruits and choose whole fruits, fresh, canned, dried, or frozen more often than juice. Provide at least 1 serving each of dark green vegetables, red and orange vegetables, beans, peas, legumes, and starchy vegetables. Okay, more whole grains. At least 1 serving of grain per day must be whole grain rich. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. Grain-based desserts no longer count toward the grain component. So talking about the first one here, what is whole grain rich? What does that mean? You need to have at least 1 serving per day of whole grain rich. So if you're serving 100% whole wheat, that would be a whole grain. If you're serving a bowl of oatmeal, that would be a whole grain. If you are, and that's a whole grain, so that totally would serve the purposes of 1 whole grain rich item a day. But what if the item is not 100% whole wheat? So if you're having a loaf of bread and half of the grain portion is like 100% whole wheat, and the other half is an enriched flour, that would be whole grain rich. So an item doesn't have to be necessarily 100%, but it has to have 50% of the amount in that product, of the grain portion in that product has to be a whole grain. The second half, if it's not whole grain, the second half definitely has to be enriched also, but that it can be a white flour that's enriched with minerals and vitamins. So we will have a lot of handouts for you. For those of you that are doing the webinar, there will be a handout the next time we come visit. And we also have some really great tools to help you implement how to make that work. But it's really pretty easy. There's lots of places to find whole grain or whole grain rich. Like I mentioned already, oatmeal, whole grain brown rice, wild rice, corn tortillas, whole wheat tortillas, which are really good. They're not the soft white ones, but the whole wheat ones, most manufacturers are making them very soft and nice now. They're not, like sawdust. They're very good. And a lot of your cold cereals, if you look at the labels, they do have 100% grain in them, of whole grain, and just make sure that if there's a lot of other grains, that at least 100% is the whole grain. And there's things like the whole grain pastas and quinoa, and there's lots of different other grains that you can incorporate into your menus. So many of you serve up and beyond that now, and some of you will have to learn to incorporate that into your menus. The whole grain rich requirement does not necessarily apply to infants under 1. It just applies to 1 and above. The other thing with the grains is the ounce equivalents are used to determine the amount of credible grains. Now this probably sounds a little confusing, and we don't quite know how this is all going to work, but it's not going to be implemented until October 1st, 2019. So we have well over 2 years for this USDA to fine-tune this one down and to get us guidelines on how to implement it. So don't even worry about it right now. The guidelines that are coming right now are fairly easy to follow, and it's just getting your mindset a little differently. So we'll just set this one aside and get used to all this first, and then we'll do that one, and it won't be so hard. All right. The best practice is to provide at least 2 servings of whole grain rich grains per day. So at least 2, and some of you may do 2 or even more than that. Okay, the first question, make sure you have a pencil and paper, and number 1 through 6, and this is the answer you need. You'll need to put the answer for the first question here. The question is, for children over 1 year, at least 1 serving of grain per day must contain wheat flour as the first ingredient, contain enriched flour as the first ingredient, be whole grain rich, and D, be labeled as healthy or nutritious. So I'll give you pause for a moment and let you choose your answer. Okay, I'll move on to the answer. And that's what's really cool about these questions, is that I'm going to give you the correct answers, so you can make sure to send us in the answers that are correct. The correct answer is C, be whole grain rich. All right, we'll move on to protein options. This is really good because we wanted this for a long time. Meat and meat alternates may be served in place of the entire grain component at breakfast a maximum of 3 times per week. So the way it is now, there is no meat or meat alternate required at breakfast, and I've heard many times, why can't we serve meat at breakfast? Well, as of October 1st, you can. And a lot of you have already served eggs and meat along with the other requirements, but now you can substitute, you can pull out the grain component and put in the meat or meat alternate. And so that keeps it very cost effective. And you can leave it in or take the grain out, either way, but you can take it out up to 3 times a week. So this is a very welcome change that we've had. Tofu counts as a meat alternate, and we've brought a handout and guidelines out to that already, and I hope that you have them. If not, we can give you more. But we're very happy. Tofu I've heard about for years and years, about why doesn't it qualify? Well, it now qualifies, and in serving tofu, the guideline is that it has to have at least 5 grams of protein for every 2.2 ounces, or a 1/4 cup. And I think you have that, and then it would qualify as 1 ounce of meat alternate. So I know many of you like tofu and you know how to use it, and you've used it, and you're just very welcoming this. And some of you may not have had tofu, or you don't like tofu, but I want to challenge you to try it and find some recipes and play with it different ways. Tofu is very nutritional, very healthy for you, and has a lot of protein, and it's a great item to add a lot of variety, and it just can change its flavors. You can do so many different things with it. Pretty much when you go to buy tofu, you're going to look for firm or extra firm tofu. Anything less than that won't have the 5 grams of protein per 2.2 ounces. So you do need to make sure you're buying the right kind of tofu, because there are a lot out there. If you go on a website to News, Events, and Conference tab, and just scroll down on that tab, there's it says exciting news for future tofu lovers, and that is the memo that came out that explains the details of it. Okay, some best practices. Excuse me. Serve only lean meats, nuts, and legumes. Limit serving processed meats to no more than 1 serving per week. Serve only natural cheeses and choose low-fat or reduced-fat cheeses. And those are best practices. We want to reduce the sugar in the menus, and to give the kids a better start. So the first place we're going to do that is yogurt. Yogurt must contain no more than 23 grams of sugar per 6 ounces. So you need to be checking the labels, and looking at how many grams of sugar is in a container. If you get a little 6-ounce container, then it needs to not have more than 23 grams. We will be giving you a chart when we come out that has the different sizes and stuff, and it's really easy to determine what yogurts you can get by that chart, because there's a lot of yogurts with very, very high sweet additives and stuff in it, all kinds of candies and whatnot. And so we want to make sure that we're serving yogurt that is lower in sugar. Also, breakfast cereals must contain no more than 6 grams of sugar per dry ounce. And this is real important. The sugar content in cereal is important, because you don't want to start the kids off with a real sugary day, and they just, it's hard for them to focus with too much sugar, and it's very hard on their body. And so we want to give them a good start to every day. And so it used to be that in the old days we had like 9 grams of sugar per serving. Well, the manufacturers got creative and would change their serving size, make it smaller. They didn't change the amount of sugar that's in their product. They changed the serving size. And so this will prevent that and make sure that the kids are getting a good cereal. So you'll be able to look at how many ounces in a serving and the grams of sugar. And we'll give you the tools to calculate that out. Okay, making every sip count. This one is kind of lengthy, but I'll sum it up for you at the end. Unflavored whole milk must be served to 1-year-olds. Unflavored, low-fat, or fat-free milk must be served to children 2 through 5 years old. Unflavored, low-fat, unflavored, fat-free, or flavored fat-free milk must be served to children 6 years old and older. So it's a lot of words, but it sums up to flavored milk is only allowed ages 6 and above, and it has to be fat-free. And the other part of the guideline is pretty much just the milk that came into play. I think it was October 1st, 2011, we started implementing the new milk guidelines, where it had to be 1% or fat-free milk for ages 2 and above, and whole milk between ages 1 and 2. But if you're going to have any kind of flavored milk, it has to be 6 years and up, and fat-free. Non-dairy milk substitutes that are nutritionally equivalent to milk may be served in place of milk to children with medical or special dietary needs. And this is something we've been talking about for quite a while. And so if you need to substitute the milk with a milk substitute, that milk has to have the same nutritional value as cow's milk. And it also has to be approved by the state. And so right at this time, we have 7 different milks that qualify that are non-dairy milk. And we've given you the pages. It's on our website. And they have the same nutritional value as cow's milk, but it has to be identical to what you see in the pictures on that page. If there's a milk that you think might qualify in addition to what's on the list, then let me know, and I will evaluate it and then send it on to our state level for approval. There was a survey that was done here in Washington State on the flavored milk, and the survey said that it surveyed daycare homes and centers, and the survey was asking how many how often do you serve flavored milk? 1% said only once a day. 1% said 4 times a week. 3% said 2 times a week. And less than 2 times a month, there's only 18%. And 76% said they never served flavored milk at all. So it's not a real big issue, and it's something that is not a good habit to be in, to train the kids to have flavored milk. But just by looking at that survey, I thought, well, it's not going to be that big of an issue like I thought maybe it would be. So if you have it on your menus and serve it, you might, start weeding it out so by October 1st you just don't have it. So the best practice would be serve only unflavored milk to all participants. If flavored milk is served to children 6 years old and older or adults, use the nutrition facts label to select and serve flavored milk that contains no more than 22 grams of sugar per 8 fluid ounces, or the flavored milk with the lowest amount of sugar if flavored milk within the sugar limit is not available. So they're not mandating an exact limit to sugar, but they are asking that you put a best practice in place and keep the sugar content low. Okay, an additional improvement on the program is frying is not allowed as a way of preparing foods on site. And this isn't just talking about frying an egg or something. This is talking about deep fat frying. So if you're cooking something where you completely immerse it in the oil, then that would be a deep fried item. So if you just pan frying or sauteing like that, or however, that is still allowed, that's fine, but just no on-site deep fat frying. It's not very safe either with all those kids around, but you still can purchase fried foods that are not prepared on site, but it's something that you certainly want to limit and stay away from to help reduce the fat content. So the best practice, incorporate seasonal and locally produced foods into meals. Limit serving purchased pre-fried foods, tongue twister, to no more than 1 serving per week. So if you're going to have pre-fried foods, make sure that you, as a best practice, limit it, or hopefully just not have it very often. Avoid serving non-credible foods that are sources of added sugar, such as sweet toppings, honey, jam, syrup, mix-in ingredients sold with yogurt, honey candy or cookie pieces, and sugar-sweetened beverages, fruit drinks, or sodas. Okay, we're at the second question, and that question is breakfast cereal must contain no more than how many grams of sugar per dry ounce? The choices are A would be 9, B 6, C 8, D 7. So I'll pause for a moment and let you answer that. Okay, the correct answer is B, 6 grams of sugar per dry ounce. All right, we're going to talk about breastfeeding, the new infant meal pattern, and we'll start out with the breastfeeding. And providers may receive reimbursement for meals when breastfeeding mother comes to the daycare center or home and directly breastfeeds her infant. So this one is absolutely wonderful. We want to incorporate nursing moms to keep nursing their babies and give them the best start ever. And so we're very happy that they can do that. So you can get reimbursed for the meal as long as the mom is still breastfeeding and comes to the site. And she can also pump and leave it with you also, but she can come to the site and serve and then go back to work. Only breast milk and infant formula are served to infants 0 through 5 months old. So we'll see in the next slide the ages have changed a little bit, but up through 5 months old, all you need to serve is breast milk or infant formula. And I know before babies sometimes were starting to be served before they were ready, but the guidelines were encouraging it. So this gives you a little bit more flexibility. The best practice. Support mothers who choose to breastfeed their infants by encouraging mothers to supply breast milk for their infants while in daycare and offer a quiet, private area that is comfortable and sanitary for mothers who come to the center or daycare home to be breastfed. So we want to really encourage them and make sure that they're comfortable and a good place to feed their babies. And make sure developmentally appropriate meals, 2 age groups instead of 3. So we've had 3 infant age groups, and now we are going down to 2, 0 through 5 months olds and 6 through 11-month-olds. And this just uncomplicates it a whole lot after we get comfortable with it. Solid foods are gradually introduced around 6 months of age as developmentally appropriate. So when they turn 6 months, then you're going to start introducing the foods, but you're going to be working with the mom and making sure that you know, you're on the same page and work closely with them, so you're introducing the foods together and what's happening with them. And when you look at the guidelines, it'll be the serving sizes will be like 0 to 4 teaspoons or tablespoons of infant cereal, and it's going to depend on where that child is at. Once that child starts eating cereal on a regular basis, then you have to continue serving that to those babies. But if they're still in the process of being introduced to the food, then if it's not served, that's okay. And we'll see how that all plays out when USDA refines the guidelines as we get closer, or how to implement it. That's more it. Okay, a few more items here. Requires a vegetable or fruit or both to be served at snack for infants 6 through 11 months old. And this is at snack time currently, you can just serve juice or formula or breast milk, and now we're saying that you're going to have a vegetable or a fruit or both to be served at snack for the infants once they get to be 6 months old. And that will help get their taste buds more for the fruits and vegetables. No longer allows juice, cheese food, or cheese spread to be served. It's allowable now, but it's just not a good thing to be developing sweet, sugary drink tastes even before they're a year old. And so we want to get the juice out of the mouth to help with the tooth decay and developing poor habits. And also the cheese food and cheese spreads are very highly processed cheeses, and their little bodies are just getting used to process regular food without giving them highly processed foods on top of it. And this one we're excited about allows ready-to-eat cereals for snacks. And so we've never been able to allow that before, but now you can serve at snack time, you can serve, you know, like the plain Cheerios or things with it at snack, but it has to follow the same guidelines of 6 ounces of sugar per dry ounce. So as long as it fits that guideline. I do also have a few things that aren't on this slide that I wanted to touch base on. Whole eggs are now okay, and currently only egg yolks are allowed and not egg whites, but they've realized the whole egg is good, so that's for infants too. It seems kind of funny that it had been separate, but the whole egg is qualified now. Fruits and vegetables for infants stay as one food group, so they're not separated out as ages 1 and above, but for infants, fruits and vegetables can be combined as one food group. And then breakfast, lunch, and dinner have all the same requirements, and when you look at the guidelines, they're kind of close to it now, but they're all going to have the same requirements. And at breakfast, you can have the meat or meat alternate instead of the iron-fortified infant cereal. A lot of times when a baby gets to be, 10, 11 months old, they lose their taste for that baby cereal. So this is a really positive change. And so when they get older, and if they don't want the infant cereal, you can serve some kind of a meat, or you can serve egg or cheese or a meat or meat alternate. So that's a good thing. There's also a transition period from formula to cow's milk, and it's defined now, so that's good. When they reach 1 year old, between the 12th and 13th month, you can have the whole month to transition them off of off of formula or breast milk into cow's milk. But if the mom wants to keep serving breast milk, the mom can do that as long as she wants. There's no limit to that. After the baby's first year, though, the breast milk has to meet the minimum portion size. Prior to that, it wouldn't have to, but when the baby's a year old, it would have to meet the minimum portion size, but the mom can continue breastfeeding as long as she would like. Okay, question number 3. The new infant meal pattern includes 2 age groups instead of 3. The new age groups are A, 0 through 5-month-olds and 6 through 11-month-olds, B, 0 through 6-month-olds and 7 through 11-month-olds, C, 0 through 7-month-olds and 8 through 11-month-olds, and D, 0 through 8-month-olds and 9 through 11-month-olds. Phew, that's a lot. Okay, I hope you guys can find the right answer. I'll pause for just a moment. Okay, the correct answer is 0 through 5-month-olds and 6 through 11-month-olds. So it's A is the right answer. So write that down, and then we'll move on. This is what we've just done is this is the end of the new meal pattern requirements, and if you've been around for a while, you know that every year we have to do your annual training, and we also have specific things that we have to train on, and these things you already know, and some of you that have been around a long time have heard it over and over and over. But the bottom line is that we have to train, and so the next portion of this webinar I'm going to go through fairly quickly because it's things that we have all been trained on either when you first started or repeatedly year after year. So we'll go through record keeping. To be in compliance with the USDA food program, these 3 items must be documented by the end of each current day. You have to have a dated menu, your meals and menus. You have to have in and out times documented, and the parents are usually doing that when they sign in and out. And you have to have your meal counts, the children who attend that meal. Okay, meal counts are the names of children claimed for reimbursement at each meal. Meal counts must be kept daily, either on the computer, in KidCare, or on paper. Having the in and out times for the children does not provide the required meal counts. So the meal counts and then in and outs are 2 separate things. The meal counts, you have to tell me at each meal what individual children ate that meal. And speaking of KidCare, if you haven't transitioned onto KidCare from Minute Menu Kids, you need to do that. Minute Menu Kids will be going away, but we will walk you through it and help you through it, and we've got some great things to kind of figure out how it works and to make it speed up and to do it to make it very efficient for you. So if you get in there and you struggle with it, make sure to call us and let us walk you through that. The next thing we're going to talk about is claims processing, and basically I'm just going to tell you how the whole process works. So you start off the process, you input your records every single day. You submit your claim to Mountain View by the 3rd day of each month, and Mountain View processes your claim, and we go through all the details of your claim. And meals are disallowed if records are incomplete, inaccurate, or missing, if meals do not meet the CACFP meal pattern requirements, if meals are claimed in excess of the authorized capacity. Mountain View submits the claim to OSPI, and OSPI submits the claim to USDA, and OSPI is the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, and that in the OSPI in there is where our state level nutrition, it's in the child nutrition section. And so after all of that is done, USDA sends the payment back to OSPI. OSPI sends a payment to Mountain View, and Mountain View sends a payment to you, the provider, within 5 working days of receiving payment from OSPI. That's the best part right there. Okay, question 4. Get your pen, papers out. Meals are disallowed for the following reasons. Records are incomplete, inaccurate, or missing. Meals do not require the CACFP, do not meet the CACFP meal pattern requirements. C, meals are claimed in excess of the authorized capacity. And D, all of the above. So I'll pause for a moment and let you answer. Okay, the correct answer is D, all of the above. So make sure you write that down. Now we're going to talk a little bit about a CN label. We trained on this before, but when we've gone into the home and when the state came out and reviewed Mountain View, we found that some providers didn't have a good understanding of it yet. So we've been asked to retrain on it, so I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. What is a CN label? It's a federal labeling program for the child nutrition programs. It provides a warranty for CN labeled products. It allows manufacturers to state a product's contribution to the meal pattern requirements on their labels. How to identify a CN label? So a CN label, the CN logo, which is a distinct border, this is one way to identify it. The meal pattern contribution statement, a 6-digit product identification number, USDA FNS authorization. FNS is Food Nutrition Service. And it will also have the month and year of approval. So here's a sample of it. It's got 4 sides on it, and it might be different shapes. It might be a rectangle, it could be kind of big, kind of small, but it has 4 sides. And it has CN on all 4 sides for child nutrition. And then if you can see, it has the meal pattern contribution statement is the statement inside that states how this product contributes toward the child nutrition meal pattern. It has a 6-digit product identification number up in the upper right-hand corner, and it says use of this logo and statement authorized by Food and Nutrition Service, USDA, and that's their authorization, and it will also have the month and year of approval. So that is how you identify the CN label. And we are at question number 5. We're getting down there. Remember, there's only 6. So question number 5, which of these is not present on a CN label? A 6-digit product identification number. B, a CN logo with a distinct border. C, the product sell-by date. D, the meal pattern contribution statement. Okay, I'll pause for a moment. Okay, the correct answer is the product sell-by date. That is the item that is not on the CN label. So write C down for question number 5. Okay, there's in addition to the CN label, we have product formulation sheet, and this is what it looks like. And the product formulation statement is a statement from the manufacturer, and the statement will give you the details about the product and how it would qualify for the child nutrition program. So this is one that you probably most likely will never do. It's a lot of work to get one. But it is something that you can do if you would like to. Sometimes larger centers and stuff might try to find products that they like with it on it. So a product formulation statement, this is what it has to have. It has to be on a company letterhead, demonstrate how the processed product contributes to the meal pattern requirements. It has to show the total ounces per raw portion of credible ingredient of product as purchased, and it has to be signed by an official representative of the company, and that is not a salesperson. That is an official representative that's qualified to give you the information on that product. And these are the things that we need: the CN label or product formulation statement. If you look in the accrediting handbook, it will tell you if the product, if the item is credible or not, and then it has a maybe column. And all of these things have a check mark in the maybe column, and you would have to, if you read the comments about it, it's going to tell you that it needs to have the CN label or product formulation statement. So you can see the list here, but it's mainly processed meats and combination foods like, you know, chili macaroni and all kinds of lots of sausages and luncheon meats and things like that. So make sure that if you do serve these, you know, check the accrediting handbook to see if you need the CN label. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about is civil rights. and this is really straightforward. The provider must serve meals to all enrolled children without regard to race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. Any person who believes he or she has been discriminated against in any USDA-related activity should write immediately to the Secretary of Agriculture, Washington, D.C. 20250. And so it's pretty straightforward, but on your wall, if you're a daycare home, you need to have building for the future. And that's the blue poster you see on the right, and it is required to be on your wall. And if you're a center, you have the green Justice for All poster, which is a larger poster. And if you don't have those, when we come out to visit you, we will bring you the Building for the Future. We always have it with us. And for centers, we'll make sure that you have the Justice for All poster. There's also this handout that is called Building for the Future. And this handout is for daycare homes. And it just is a quick summary of what the program is, and it needs to be given to each individual family as you enroll them into your program. And that's it for civil rights. Now we have question number 6. Remember, there's only 6 questions, so we're getting down there. Meals must be served to all enrolled children without regard to their race or color, national origin or gender, age or disability, or all of the above. So I'll pause for just a moment. And, oh, whoops, I always forget, E, answer A and B only. Somebody that made these questions messed me up and put a 5th answer in there. So, or it could be A and B only. So the correct answer is all of the above, not just A and B, but all of them. So that is it, and that's the end of our webinar. And I'd like to thank you and also make sure to remind you to email us right away. And we're hoping everybody gets trained on this really soon so we can get everybody checked off for your annual training for the year. And make sure that when we come out, we'll be giving you some packets that go along with this, and you will be able to have some good tools to help you work through those grams of sugar per dry ounce and the yogurt sugar limitation and things like that. And then that will give you the handouts that have all the guidelines for everything. So I'd like to thank you very much for making it through this webinar, and we will see you next time we visit you at your home. And thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.